Welcome to Daily Progress Gear, where we explore the profound definitions of success through stories that touch the depths of the soul. Meet Ethan, a young man who believed that life was a battlefield where only the strongest and fastest could truly survive. For him, success was measured solely by the distance he created between himself and those who tried to compete against him. The stadium was packed with thousands of spectators, all waiting to witness the spectacle of speed, power, and human physical excellence. He stood at the starting line, surrounded by worthy opponents who were just as hungry for the golden trophy as he was. With the loud crack of the pistol, they exploded forward, tearing through the air with the raw power of trained predators. Ethan pushed his body to the absolute limit, his legs pumping like pistons as he slowly pulled away from the pack. He felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins, knowing that every step forward was a step closer to his personal glory. He crossed the finish line first, roaring with pride as the validation of his hard work washed over him like a wave. The crowd erupted into thunderous applause, showering him with the admiration that society reserves for those who stand above the rest. In that moment, Ethan felt complete, believing that this individual dominance was the only true definition of what it means to win. But amidst the cheering, a wise old judge watched him silently, knowing that the young man still had much to learn. The applause eventually faded, and Ethan stood there, waiting for the next opportunity to prove that he was the absolute best. The wise man announced a second race, promising a lesson that would challenge not just the body, but the spirit within. Ethan stepped back onto the track, shaking out his limbs, fully expecting another group of strong athletes to challenge his speed. But to his surprise, his new opponents were a frail old lady and a blind man who could barely stand alone. Ethan looked at them with confusion, wondering if this was some kind of joke or a test of his patience today. The judge simply raised his hand and gave the command to race, his voice echoing through the suddenly quiet sports arena. Driven by habit and his desire to win, Ethan bolted forward, leaving the elderly woman and the blind man far behind. He ran alone down the track, the wind in his hair, but the usual thrill of competition was completely missing this time. Behind him, the two challengers remained at the start, unable to participate in a race designed for speed and physical power. Ethan crossed the finish line and raised his arms, expecting the usual roar of approval from the thousands watching in the stands. But this time, there was no cheering, only a deafening silence that hung heavy over the stadium like a thick fog. He looked around in panic, unable to understand why his victory was being met with such cold and confusing indifference. The wise man approached the finish line and looked at Ethan, his eyes conveying a lesson that words could not speak. Ethan asked in a trembling voice, "Why is there silence? I won the race. I beat them just as you asked." "I won," showing his frustration and lack of understanding. The wise man simply pointed back to the start, where the elderly woman and the blind man stood alone and defeated. He replied softly, "Race again, my son. But this time, try to find a victory that is actually worth celebrating." Ethan stood there for a moment, the silence of the crowd forcing him to reflect on the hollowness of his achievement. He walked slowly back to the start, the applause he craved replaced by the heavy realization of his own selfish arrogance. Standing between them, he finally saw them not as opponents to be beaten, but as human beings who needed support. Once again, the signal was given to start the race, but this time, Ethan did not launch himself forward alone. Instead, he turned to his left and gently took the small, trembling hand of the elderly woman into his own. Then he turned to his right and took the hand of the blind man, connecting them all in a human chain. They began to move forward, not running, but walking slowly together, matching their pace to the slowest among them. Their steps are synchronized, moving forward together at a walking pace. The focus shifted from speed to connection, from individual glory to the shared effort of ensuring everyone moved forward together, a powerful symbol of connection, unity, and shared human strength. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest, a feeling of fulfillment that was far deeper than any gold medal. As they walked down the track, the crowd rose to their feet, watching in awe as the definition of winning changed. When the old woman stumbled, Ethan did not pull away. He held her tighter, offering his strength to steady her steps. The blind man walked with his head held high, no longer afraid of the dark, trusting the hand that guided him. A radiant smile appears on his face, sensing the support. Together, they approached the finish line, not as competitors fighting for a prize, but as companions sharing a beautiful journey. Sunlight bathes the three figures in a heavenly glow, creating a halo effect around them. They crossed the line simultaneously, a united front that proved that true strength lies in lifting others up, not beating them. For a second, there was silence, and then the stadium exploded with a roar, louder than any race before it. The visual impact of the noise is shown through shaking cameras. Tears streamed down faces in the crowd as they witnessed a victory of the human spirit, not just the human body. The emotion is palpable, capturing the hearts of the spectators. The wise old man smiled, nodding his head, for he knew that Ethan had finally understood the greatest lesson of all. Ethan hugged his companions, realizing that their smiles gave him more joy than any plastic trophy ever could have provided. He looked back at his past self, the lonely runner, and realized how empty that pursuit of solitary dominance had been. From above, they were just 3 small dots, but in that moment, they were the center of the entire universe. He understood now that his hands were not made just to break ribbons, but to hold, support, and guide others. A true smile graced his face, one born not of ego, but of the deep connection he felt with humanity. Inspired by the trio, strangers in the stands began to join hands, the spirit of unity spreading throughout the entire arena. This act of kindness lit a fire that day, proving that compassion is a light that shines brighter than any medal. As they left the field, Ethan remained by their side, proving that his change of heart was permanent and sincere. The story of Ethan teaches us that true success is never about how fast we can cross the finish line alone. It reflects in our daily lives, in the small moments where we choose to pause and help someone in need. Ethan found new friends that day, and he learned that the richness of life comes from relationships, not just achievements. The blind man taught him that trust is a gift, and being worthy of that trust is the greatest victory. The elderly woman taught him that strength is not just for dominating, but for protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Now, ask yourself, are you running your race just for yourself, or are you helping others along the way? In a world that constantly tells us to hurry and compete, it takes true courage to slow down and care. Be the person who stops. Be the person who notices. Be the person who ensures that no one is left behind. Like birds flying in formation, we go further when we travel together, sharing the burden and the joy of flight. Ethan now teaches others that the podium is wide enough for everyone if we are willing to lift each other up. He is building a legacy not of records broken, but of hearts mended and spirits lifted through the power of unity. As the sun sets on his racing days, he knows he has won the only race that truly matters in life. Remember this lesson: the greatest victory you can ever achieve is ensuring that no one is ever left behind. Your actions have a ripple effect. One small act of kindness can change the trajectory of another person's entire life. Trophies will gather dust and records will be broken, but the impact you have on people will last forever. Cherish the connections you make. Value the lives you touch. That is the true goal that we should all seek. Years from now, you won't remember the times you ran ahead. You will remember the times you stopped to help. Let us build a world where compassion is valued over competition, and where empathy is the true measure of strength. From the lonely sprint to the shared walk, Ethan's journey is a mirror for us all to examine our hearts. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey today. We hope it has sparked a light within your soul. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear this powerful message today. This is Daily Progress Gear signing off. Subscribe for more stories that inspire growth, and remember, we rise by lifting others.